found himself respecting her even as he was starting to imagine what she might look like naked, and how those lips of hers might feel around his cock. He was very much her type in terms of looks, Lindsay thought. He just didn't have that edge of naughty vulnerability that usually drew her attention to toned, tattooed, fair-haired men. At least he wasn't the kind of dickhead who couldn't stop trying to get into a who's the dommiest dom contest with her. They were talking to each other just like people, and enjoying it. As the group around the table began to break up and reform, with some people calling it a night and others suddenly reappearing from the playroom, he suddenly looked her straight in the eyes and asked her if she ever switched. She grinned and threw the question straight back at him, nodding when his reply matched hers. "So I won't be tying you up tonight and taking advantage of you then," she said. "Bit of a pity, but 2 tops, not a lot you can do with that." "Apart from have a really good fuck," Carl said. Lindsay froze for a second, drink in hand. It was as though a sudden silence had fallen, although the music and the chatter and the intermittent slap of whip on flesh must have carried on around them. They stayed at the party for another hour or so, but what was going to happen had been decided in that single brief exchange. Even as they mingled with friends and acquaintances, joined in other conversations, their eyes would meet every few minutes, and Lindsay was amazed that no one else seemed aware of the electric, crackling tension between the two of them. It was the most intense sexual chemistry she'd felt in ages. Her pussy hot and wet, her nipples 2 hard little bullets beneath her clothes. She wondered if he had a hard-on, but didn't want to stare in case he caught her looking. Perhaps because neither of them were in their usual sex roles, the first few minutes back at his studio flat were a little disconcerting. Neither had said much on the brief minicab journey, though that was something Lindsay was used to. Chattering in front of cabbies about exactly what you were going to be doing with one another in a short space of time had always seemed fairly graceless to her. It was late, a lot later than she'd expected to be out on a Sunday night, and that was disorienting as well. With a little toss of her head, she began to unbutton her blouse, not too slowly, but not too fast. He followed her example, peeling off his t-shirt, then crouching to unbuckle his boots as she kicked off her shoes and removed her black leather skirt. A little while later, they were lying naked, side by side beneath the quilt, almost touching but not quite. The silence and the taut feeling of expectation lasted almost too long, and then Carl put his hand, very carefully but quite decisively, on her left breast. She rolled over and put her hand on his arse, and then it was all going to happen. He fingered and pinched her nipples as she nipped at his ear and licked his jawline, clawing her fingernails lightly down his back. A couple of deep, hard, tongue-thrusting kisses, and she had hold of his cock, squeezing and caressing the rigid shaft while he reached between her legs and finger-fucked her juicy hole. "Shall I go on top?" She laughed a little as she said it, and then his hands were gripping her hips and helped her to mount him, and it felt amazingly easy to slide him inside her. She was so very wet, so very ready, and he was pushing in hard and fast and deep, thrusting up inside her while she ground against him, and there was no stopping, no pause for thought, no worries, just fast, hard fucking, like a duel, like a dance. They somehow found each other's hands rather than clutching at shoulders or arse cheeks, twisted their fingers in between one another's, held tight, and dug in.